Title: The Homeless Girl and the Lonely Rider. The wind howled across the empty plains, carrying whispers of a coming storm. The snow had started to fall again, slow, heavy flakes that buried tracks and silenced sound. Under the fading light of the winter sun, a broken wagon leaned helplessly on one side, its wheel shattered, its canvas torn like a wounded bird's wing. Beside it sat a woman, her dress tattered, her hair tangled by wind and tears. Her name was Clara May, and she had been left for dead 3 days ago. The men who had once called her useless and lame had taken the horses and food, leaving her with nothing but a broken leg and a sky full of sorrow. Each night, she prayed, not for rescue, but for peace. For an end to the pain that had taken her body and spirit. The cold gnawed at her fingers, her lips cracked with thirst. She had begun to believe that the world had forgotten her entirely. But fate had a strange way of finding the lost. Far away, riding through the lonely valley, a man named Eli Turner guided his horse along the snow trail. He was a quiet rider, a man with too many regrets and too few words. His brown coat was worn, his hat pulled low against the wind, and his eyes told stories he would never speak aloud. He had been searching for something, though he didn't know what. Maybe peace, maybe redemption, maybe just a reason to stop running from ghosts. As dusk fell, a faint shape caught his eye, a wagon, tilted and broken, half buried in snow. He slowed his horse. "Easy now," he murmured, his voice gravelly from days of silence. He dismounted and approached, each step crunching over the frost. That's when he saw her. At first, he thought she was dead. Her skin was pale as snow, her eyes half shut, her lips blue. But then, a shiver ran through her frame, a breath, faint but real. He dropped to his knees. "Miss, hey, you hear me?" She stirred weakly, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Please, don't take my things. There's nothing left." Eli frowned. "I ain't here to rob you." He pulled his coat off and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You're freezing. Where are your people?" She laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. "Gone. Left me here. Said I slowed them down." Eli clenched his jaw. The world could be cruel, especially to the weak. "Not tonight, they won't," he muttered, lifting her carefully in his arms. Her breath caught in surprise. Why are you helping me?" He didn't look at her. "'Cause someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it either." They rode through the storm in silence. The horse struggled against the deep snow, but Eli's steady hands never faltered. By the time they reached his cabin, a small, lonely place near the edge of the valley, the night had swallowed the land. Inside, he laid her on his bed, lit the fire, and fetched a rag and a bottle of whiskey. "This'll hurt," he warned, cleaning her wound. She bit her lip, but her eyes stayed on him, curious. "You live here alone?" He nodded. "Ain't much company out here." She tried to smile. "Seems you like it that way." "Sometimes," he said softly, tying a clean strip of cloth around her leg. "Other times, it's too quiet." Days passed. The storm raged outside, trapping them in a cocoon of snow and silence. Eli hunted when he could, brought back rabbits and wood, while Clara mended slowly, her color returning. At first, they spoke little, two strangers sharing space out of necessity. But soon, their words began to fill the emptiness. She told him about the wagon train she'd joined, a group bound for California, full of promise and greed. When she'd fallen and injured her leg, they'd decided she was dead weight. He told her about the war, the blood he'd seen, the friends he'd lost, the peace he never found. "You ever think about leaving?" she asked one night, as the fire crackled between them. "Every day," he replied, staring into the flames. "But where would I go? The past follows, no matter how far I ride." She looked at him then, her eyes soft. "Maybe it's not about where you go. Maybe it's about who you find along the way." As the snow began to melt, so did the silence between them. Clara helped him cook, laughed softly at his dry humor, and found warmth she hadn't felt in years. Eli, for the first time since the war, felt something stir inside him, a quiet kind of hope. One evening, as the sky blazed orange with sunset, Eli found her outside the cabin, trying to walk with a wooden crutch he'd carved for her. "You're pushing it too soon," he said, stepping closer. She smiled, determination lighting her face. "If I can't walk, I'll never leave this place." "Maybe that wouldn't be so bad," he murmured. She looked up at him, surprised. You want me to stay? He hesitated. I ain't much of a man for talking. But since you came here, this place don't feel so empty. Clara's eyes glistened. Then maybe I'll stay till spring, she whispered. He smiled slightly. Spring's a long way off. Then I guess you're stuck with me. Dash dash dash. Spring came slowly, turning the white valley into a sea of green. The wagon, half buried in snow months before, now sat in the grass like an old ghost. Clara stood before it, leaning on her crutch, her hair shining in the morning sun. Eli joined her, a cup of coffee in hand. You could fix it, he said. Head west. Start new. She looked at him. You think I should go? He paused. I think you should do whatever makes you feel alive again. And what about you? He shrugged. I'll manage. For a long time, neither spoke. The sound of birds filled the air. Then Clara turned, her eyes deep and certain. You saved me when no one else would. You gave me a reason to live. I don't want to start over somewhere else. I want to start over here. Eli met her gaze, the walls around his heart cracking at last. You sure about that? She stepped closer, her voice trembling but strong. I've never been more sure of anything. Dash dash dash. That night, they sat on the porch together, watching the stars bloom across the sky. The air was cool, the scent of pine drifting through the valley. Eli reached out, hesitating for only a second before taking her hand. Clara, he said softly, I ain't good with words, but you make this life worth something again. She smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. Then I guess we both found what we were looking for. The fire inside the cabin flickered warm against the window, and for the first time in years, Eli Turner didn't feel alone. Dash dash dash. Months later, travelers passing through the valley would sometimes see smoke rising from a small cabin by the creek, or a woman hanging fresh laundry beneath the trees while a man worked with his horse nearby. They would whisper stories about the couple who lived there, the quiet rider and the girl who was left for dead. And though no one knew their full tale, the valley carried their story in every echo, in every sunrise, in every soft wind that brushed across the plains. Because sometimes, the Wild West wasn't just a land of guns and gold. It was a place where broken souls found each other, and learned to live again.